open. Well, I already messed this up this morning. That's fine. It's a Tuesday. It's cold now in New England, so I'm not all together. I was all sleepy and it was dark, and I was like, oh, hello, everyone, and welcome to Happy You Asked, the podcast where we explore a little thing called happiness, one awkward conversation at a time. And I am your host, Erin Claire, and I'm joined today by Dr. Mamta Saxena. Is that how you say your last name? Say it for me.
Saxena.
Yeah, I was pretty close. She is the Senior Assistant Dean of Decision Support and Academic Quality Assessment in Northeastern University's College of Professional Studies. So she works with me. She's responsible for the leadership, vision, and operations of the Data Analytics Unit, as well as the college's academic assessment and program evaluation processes and reporting. In her previous role, she led the instructional design team at Southern New Hampshire University, where she implemented innovative strategies that supported the university's exponential online program expansion, which is kind of hard to do. So, her experience spans corporate and academic settings in the US and India, where she's led initiatives to advance cutting edge design and assessment strategies. Mamta, I'm so thrilled to have you on the podcast. Finally, we've been trying to plan this for a while, and we're very busy in our day jobs, so it was very difficult to do. So welcome, finally, Mamta.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Erin.
Yeah.
And sorry for keep delaying it. Here I am.
Oh, yeah. So everybody gets the same really hard first question. What is your definition of happiness?
I believe happiness comes from within,
Hmm.
and it's a state of mind when you have clarity of your, in your thought process. I
Hmm.
guess you're self-aware of who you are, what you really want from life, what's your purpose. And
Hmm.
most importantly, I think you're at peace and in harmony with the people and the circumstance in your life at that moment.
Yeah, I like that very much. Hey, are there times you can think of when you felt this way? Truly happy?
There's so many. There's so many. But when I try to find like a common thread, I do realize that my happiest memories, they all revolve around spending time with people that I love, friends or
Hmm.
family. It's less about, where I am, what I'm doing. It's more about who I'm with. Whether I'm,
Hmm.
I could be relaxing on an island with my favorite drink or sitting in front of the fireplace, with my family, or discussing a book that I really like,
Oh, yeah.
even debating a topic, in the news, it's those moments of connection, where you feel emotionally or intellectually that you feel, that sense of real joy and fulfillment.
Yeah, and that can happen anywhere. I was thinking yesterday, there was this adorable little toddler as I was waiting for the train, and just so happy with I go out of North Station, and there's all these pigeons that people annoy people, but the toddler was so thrilled, and it made me smile and brought me joy just to see someone else's joy. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, those moments of connection, or when someone makes you laugh really hard out of nowhere. I love that. Such happiness then. Um, for you personally though, has this changed over time? Did it used to be different how you felt about happiness?
So when fundamentally I think about my belief about happiness, and it's very much rooted in my upbringing, my value systems, that my family and my parents gave. I don't think fundamentally it has changed, but the way I understand it, or I feel or experience it, that has absolutely evolved over
Mm.
time. When I think back, I think it takes a different shape in every stage of your life, right? Like you move from the farthest that I could remember, like clearly middle school to high school, right? Then college happens, then uh, you get married, you become a parent, or you professionally you're building a career, you get to some stage, or then it becomes, celebrating your kids' milestones, and
Hmm.
and then later it's really like facing the reality of people who were in your life, like you when you start losing people,
Hmm.
like your parents or someone in your family. So absolutely, it has changed. It changed over time, and definitely coming to the U.S. was a turning point in my life. It kind of opened my eyes to the difference between material happiness versus experiential. We all understand the collectivist versus the individualistic aspect of the society we live in and how it defines and shapes our definition of happiness, how we experience it.
Mhm.
Um, and what makes me happy versus what brings happiness being part of a community or a family. And it really made me question, what real fulfillment looks like, both in my professional and personal life. And I must say the deepest shift came after losing my parents, and a sibling. Those moments change you. They make you like stop and rethink everything you thought that you knew about happiness. Like you realize that you were living those moments of happiness, but didn't even appreciate them enough, or even label them as happy moments until after they've passed, right? So I think this is a universal aspect, I believe,
Mhm.
of how your understanding of happiness change over time.
And especially losing a parent, or parents, no matter the age, it's always hard because that's how we come into the world, how we frame our sense of self is in relation to our parents. And when they're gone, it's like, well, I can't continue on. I'm just a kid, no matter how old you are.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
When did I'd like to hear more about when you came over. When did you come over from India?
So that was 1996, and I was 25 years old. So yeah, I came to US. Yeah, because I came because I had an arranged marriage with someone who was born and brought up here.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's cool. No idea. Yeah, neat. So they'd arranged marriage, but they were brought up here. And so you
Yes,
came
my
here to the
husband
US.
is, yeah, he's I know I call him first generation, you get confused with these labeling these days. But his parents were immigrants. They were
Mhm.
here. He was born and brought up here.
Fascinating. Well, that's a lot of things at once. So you came over to a new country, to a marriage,
Yes.
right, with somebody that you didn't know.
Fun. Yeah, it's been, yeah, it's both challenging and an adventure, and yeah, it's been interesting.
Well, I'm interested to hear then about the arranged marriage. Like, was that always an expectation that would happen for you?
So it's difficult to explain, like the concept of arranged marriage has evolved over time, just like we're talking about happiness, right?
Mhm.
It's if you talk about, my parents' generation, yeah, maybe you didn't even have a good look at the person you were marrying or had a conversation. But when you talk about the evolution of it, we by the time, like my generation, we had very sophisticated matrimonial databases, just like we do like online dating here, that families,
Mm.
would look into to find a perfect match. And then the both sides, you meet and then you talk. You can even spend more time if you like to think about compatibility or see if it
Mhm.
matches or not. You had full say in saying yes or no. So by
Oh,
that
yeah,
time,
yeah.
so if you see the trajectory of how arranged marriages evolved over time, this is how it is. So some people, if they don't know enough about it, they may still have this concept of, wow, you just go and marry someone that you don't know and you're
Mhm.
forced into it. But no, it evolved over time. I and my husband had full say in saying yes or no if we found each other not compatible.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's the version of arranged marriage that I gone through. I had gone through.
That's yeah, it sounds like you say sort of like just a form of online dating in which there are a few more parties involved, perhaps.
Yes, yes, and yeah, it's more logical. It seems more logical in terms of families finding the perfect match, and the girl and boy thinking about how compatible we are professionally, personally, and otherwise. You have full on conversation to talk about it, but yeah, it's not like it goes on for just like dating here in the Western world. It doesn't goes on for months or years. You got to make a quick decision.
Yeah, yes or no, right? There's yes or no.
Right.
Well, I like though the idea in some ways it makes more sense than I think that at least in the Western world, we're not doing a great job at this on our own. So maybe if our families waited and were like, this one might be a good option, or no, it might have a little more success in this online dating space. So
Yeah, I mean,
interracial marriages.
sure, like consider like if you're doing the online dating, you're on your own, but here you have family and other people, kind of factoring in and helping you out do the grunt work. So yeah,
Yes, exactly. That sounds like a good deal for a lot of people.
right.
So, and how long have you been married now?
So it's going to be almost 30 years. Yeah, if I'm doing the math right. Oh, I hope my
Yeah.
husband is like, do you you listen to the podcast and be like, you don't know the exact number.
Well, wait, no, because it was 90, you came over in 96, right? Yeah.
96.
So
Yeah,
yeah, 30 years.
yeah.
That's amazing. How many children do you have? You said you had children?
Yes, I have a daughter and a son. My son is 23 years old. My daughter is 19.
Oh, lovely. Um, and do they visit your family in India, or do you go back how off to see them with your family?
We've been like, yeah, when we've not been that often, but we've had my parents over every
Hmm.
summer. When my kids were growing up, they were here to spend the summers with them, which I feel really fortunate about. Very fond memories my kids have and I have of my parents being here. Yeah,
Mhm. Same for me when we would travel, they back up north because we were in the south, so we'd make a pilgrimage, not as far, not across an ocean, but the U.S. is huge, so it's a
yeah.
22-hour drive. It would take a long time. Um, well, you talked about when you came over to the U.S., like it opened your eyes, especially in terms of materialism and happiness. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean.
So, in terms of um, the whole society here, in terms the Western, if you will, there's both pros and cons. When you think about philosophically, if you think about pleasure or contentment, right? How do you
Mhm.
differentiate them? So, growing up, I'm not a staunch religious person, but I grew up in a Hindu family. And when you think of some concepts from Hinduism, uh, if you think about any holy scriptures, from any religion, some things are universal, some are unique concept in terms of, how I defined happiness or living a fulfilled life, right? So I have to use something from Hinduism to explain that. So
Mhm.
there are like, three different variations or versions of happiness, in the religion. They talk about material pleasures, it's in the Hindi word is sukh, like
Mhm.
it's the happiness you get from like eating your favorite sweet or buying your first house or car, right? That's pleasure that you get from life. And then there is shanti, the word shanti, which means you're at peace. Say there's no conflict. There's a time in your life there's no conflict at work or family or friends. You just feel like wow, life is beautiful. And then the last one, we talk about anand, that is bliss,
Mhm.
that is something you get from what you just described, Erin. Like you saw that toddler,
Mhm.
you're just sitting near the ocean and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, right? It's selfless, so how do you get to that stage, so it's like you need to get to that stage in your life, and it takes a lifetime, I guess, for all of us to get to that stage, but that was what the definition and the values that I grew up with, right? And you come here and you think about the Western concept of individuality, and I saw a lot of materialistic pleasures, seeking habits of people and the commercialism. And yes, it's not all bad. There's good stuff I learned too. So it kind of changed my perspective. Uh, the whole aspect of thinking about at a personal level, the Western culture taught me a little bit too. What I didn't like was the work-life balance, how
Mm.
work defined the whole of you, which should be a part of you, but that completely defined your personal identity, who you are, and
Mm.
you work to live or live to work. I was trying to figure that out, that difference here. And then, the Western culture also, it shaped me to understand certain things that I didn't back home. We talk about Easternism coming to West. It's not just yoga and meditation, or vice versa. There's pros and cons of both sides. I learned, a lot about experiencing happiness at a personal level, discovering more about my personal identity outside of who I was from my family and the community back home. That individualism or the
Yeah.
sense of freedom in terms of creative expression and all that. I got that from the Western culture. So I think I got a good mix from both sides.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's so difficult and fascinating about practicing yoga in the West because we are so entrenched in individualism that we don't even understand, and more, I think, we don't even understand collectivism and how to express it in so many ways because we're usually so disconnected. And so many of the concepts are about our collective responsibility to each other. And it's difficult for the Western brain to even like wrap their minds around that sometimes. Um, you brought up Ananda. Is that, yeah, and within yoga, the goal is samadhi, right? So it's sort of the bliss, but with a connection to the divine. Is that similar to the concept of of happiness that you were talking about?
I believe so, and it does not really have to be like divine. Like if you consider nature divine, right? Like
Yes.
you're sitting, by the ocean or in a forest, and look at the birds or stuff around you, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, and this is enough to make me feel happy, regardless of
Yes.
my circumstance or my harmony with my people or community or work. You can still seek that. I think
Mm,
that's what it's
yeah,
kind
that makes sense too. And it's really not so much, I guess you're right, not the divine. It's more the something larger than yourself or outside of yourself.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So we're not ego driven, which is really hard to be individualistic and not ego driven. Yeah,
Takes a lifetime to get there.
that's right, exactly. Um, do you see like what do you see as the role of more what the opposite emotions, suffering or anger or those types of things? How do you think those play in a life towards happiness?
Yeah, I think that they play a very critical role. And if I think about, Buddhism that kind of came out of Hinduism talk all the time, that the gist of the whole religion there is, life is suffering. And I guess a lot of a lot of religious faiths say that about life. But I guess it shapes how you define happiness and experience it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
if you don't have suffering, it'll be difficult to experience happiness altogether. So it's just all part of life, I guess.
yeah, yeah, a- and it is, especially in the East. There's in Buddhism and Hinduism, there's more of a focus on this idea that life, in its nature, is suffering, but that doesn't mean that we suffer. And that's quite different than I think the West understands, or Christianity as a whole understands the role of suffering, and it's something more to be avoided, or and we can't avoid it.
Right.
Suffering is just a part of the human experience, and so if we don't feel it, we can't be fully human. That's a part of it. It's just what do we do with the suffering, and do we hang on to it? Do we live within the suffering, or do we allow other emotions to come and go, as Rumi would say? Yeah, like guest house. What do you think about social media? As does you think that it plays a role in happiness or suffering?
I think absolutely. If you think about, what's happening in the society right now, social media it plays a very critical role, and it's pros and cons. Like I think
Mhm.
of, when with the advent of social media, there was a lot that people liked about it, and it really helped. Like I think of about my family back home, how it helped me stay connected with them, right? Share, milestones and beautiful moments of my life. So it does offer opportunities of connections and belongings, and you can also see communities, created for a cause come together to do stuff on social media, or people, who access information, but what's happened, the downside of that is, as you see now, I think the biggest enemy of happiness right now for everyone is the disinformation, the misinformation
Yeah.
happening on social media, and how, especially I think about the younger generation, how it shapes, their personal identity, their perception of others or what's happening.
Mm,
And the cyberbullying and all these, the downside of social media, it has a greater impact on happiness, across all generations. It is something that we all know we need to monitor, to moderate, educate, inform, considering how much it can impact people's state of mind in regard to, how happy they are, how content they are. The constant, the relentless comparison of, oh, someone achieved or
mm,
accomplished this or experiencing this, and I'm not. That feeling of inferiority or insecurity. So in that regard, I think it's playing such a critical role, along with the politics of a country, how it
yeah.
shapes,
Yeah,
happiness in general.
yeah, 100%. I think you're right. Um, so how do you think happiness plays into your work? Now, if you're not from, you might want to explain what you do because not all of that, everybody will be in academia and they'll be like, what are all those words Aaron said? Maybe explain a little bit what you do and then how it factors into your life's happiness.
Yeah, so yeah, I had a long title that Erin shared at the beginning. But what I do at the College of Professional Studies at Northeastern University, it's really looking at the entire curriculum of all the programs, the academic quality of the program, the curriculum design, the assessment, the accreditation aspect of it, and also data analytics, how data can help leadership and faculty and everyone make informed decision about what students are saying, say in the surveys, or how they're performing in the assignments. It's like the elevator pitch of what I do, and taking all that data together and making informed decision of how can we serve our learner best by enhancing our curriculum, our teaching practice, our design practices. So that's in a nutshell, what I've been doing in variety of different roles at Northeastern now. And in terms of, happiness at work, I think if is that what your question was, Erin?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it plays a critical role, how we show up at work and vice versa, how we feel at work, right? It's so important, like you're intellectually engaged and challenged in the work you do at all times. If not, then you have to keep finding new projects. You go, I have uh, been, I different managers that I've had over the 11 years I've been here. I've always like, I want more. I want to contribute here. I want to take part in this new project or initiative, right? So keeping that intellectual engagement and challenge, that's so important. If you're bored of what you're doing, it's difficult to uh, find happiness at work. And then definitely having good relationship with your supervisor, your team, your colleagues. If there's friction and conflict, it really impacts you, even your personal life. And knowing that the work I'm doing is actually making a difference for our learners, for
Mhm,
society writ large, um, and most importantly, feeling appreciated by peers, by leadership, by organization as a whole. It definitely
mhm,
contributes to your overall sense of well-being and motivation at work. But what it should not do is define you as a whole or take
yes.
over, the priorities of your life or the priority of your life. And that's something I talked about, the work-life balance in the West. It's only a part of you. It's not the whole.
No, 100% because uh, it's going to end one day too. And our work is should not be, the can, should not be the center of our identity. And it so easily is in the West. You're exactly right. And I think about like some people in my mom's generation when they retired, they didn't know what to do with themselves because their identity was so wrapped up in their work that they didn't know who they were outside of work. And I always say to myself, I don't want to be that person. I want to, look forward to a retirement of not working.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Now, so Mamta's work in assessment, one of the things that I think people outside higher ed don't know is that our assessment processes and this decision support she was talking about, this is how we understand if we're doing a good job of what we're doing. Because we can't just go by our feeling that's a good job or even by the student's experience necessarily because they're the learner. They don't know what they didn't learn. So by assessing the quality of how we're teaching, what students are getting out of it, and how that relates to what we intended them to get out, that's what Mamta helps us see. And it's quite complicated and involves a lot of data. And it's not something that academics like myself in our fields were trained in. So then once we start teaching, we're like, wait, you want us to do what? And then mom's got to convince us to do all that. But on the other side, we get a tremendous amount of data for how we can shape things much better than they are. And that's why it's very useful for us. So thank you for that work. Though, I mean, people don't go around saying, hey, assessment's the happiest group over there.
Right. Yeah. I like how you stated it, Erin. That's a better elevator pitch than what I gave. I'll steal that for future.
Oh, steal away. I don't know what I said, but you can listen to it later and figure it out. So, yeah, and the other thing too is we're serving at the College of Professional Studies, a group that really needs our help, and that's one thing that comes up again and again is that in these interviews is, do you have a sense of purpose with your job that you can feel good about, like the results you're doing? And for me, at least, helping these learners is a good sense of purpose, right? I'm going to change generations, and it's the same thing with you by helping create better learning environments, better courses, better curriculum. We're going to help change lives. And so I'm like, yeah, I contributed to the world somewhat. At least for me, that's what matters a little bit. Yeah. Now, what about when you're not feeling great? Do you have any practices that you do, habits, things like that that help you?
Yes, I think at this stage and at my age, there's a lot of stuff that I learned, from people around me and the community in terms of how to maintain my happiness. I talked about, losing a family member. I
Mm,
think what's really helped is being part of communities and finding new communities every day or opportunity that I get. It's become critical for me. Uh, I'm an empty nester now, and it's very important for me to have that community to lean on. Uh,
mm,
and and outside of that, like you cannot be engaging with the community at all times. There are times it's okay for the times in your life where you're just doing work and day to day, but then you have milestones to look forward to, right? Celebrations to look forward to.
mm,
So that's one thing. And I really also find like by giving back to the community, like I have started volunteering both professionally and in my personal life, that volunteer aspect of my life also gives me happiness, keeps me grounded. Uh,
mm.
and and I think the what other stuff I'm thinking, I have also at this stage and age in my life, I have taken up stuff that I didn't have time to do, when I was busy building my professional career or taking care of my family. Like I'm taking voice lessons now that
Oh, lovely.
I never could. I always enjoyed singing, but I've never taken formal lessons. So I'm taking voice lessons or joined a book club. uh,
Mm,
those things kind of help you distract when you're moments when you're not happy, and above all, I think the physical aspect of your body has a great impact on your mental state of mind. So I do try to find time to exercise or yoga or meditate when I'm not feeling happy. Um, I'm working on that. It has not always helped, but I think starting there is my place. Once I am able to take care of that, then I can get back to all the other things that I said that to lean
mm.
on.
Yeah, well, it's sound advice because community, will help us right away, and then distracting ourselves with things like like practices, habits, like taking up lessons or something like that. Also, is that is a good tool to sort of get out of our own way when we need a switch, a change. It also gives us something to look forward to and patterns throughout our weeks, which helps. I love those ideas. Okay, I have three final questions. Number one, if you could design a society, right, and it was Mamta Society, and it would increase happiness, what were some things that you put in that society to do that?
Oh, there's a lot of things I have to be about it. Uh, I really think of as this is a theme you may have heard in all the questions you asked, a society that prioritizes a sense of belonging and connection and community, that values, experiential happiness over materialistic. and
Hmm.
teaches empathy and kindness, and encourages a lifestyle that helps folks find a healthy balance between work and life, right? And most importantly, is equitable and inclusive.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. That sounds like a great place to live. Kind people, right? And you have good work-life balance. Yeah, sign me up. I like your society. All right. What is one of your favorite songs to add to the playlist?
Oh, there's so many, but and both, think about, the Bollywood songs and the Western music that I've been exposed to through my daughter, who by the way loves singing, and she's a very musical person. Uh,
Mm,
I'll tell you one, that I really like these days, and I listen quite often, and it's something my daughter shared with me now that I'm an empty nester and I miss my babies.
yeah.
It's by let me see if I can pronounce it right. It's by Delaney Bailey, and
Mm,
it's called Darling, I'd Wait for You Even If You Don't Ask.
okay. Blaney Bailey, darling, I'd wait for you. I'm going to write it down. Okay.
It's a lullaby,
Perfect.
but it's a beautiful one. Mhm.
I love that. I'm sure it'll be perfect. And the last thing, do you have any final thoughts to share with the world about happiness?
I think, yeah, the final thought is just everything that I said. It is a state of mind. And if you can learn to master your circumstance and find contentment and peace in what is under your control, through connection, through a connection or a whole community to lean on, I think it would be possible to be happy most of the time, if not all the time.
Oh, Mamta, this was wonderful. You made me feel good talking to you. So thank you.
Oh, I'm glad.
And yeah, thank you everybody for listening in and learning about Mamta's perspective. And I just blew my mind with the arranged marriage thing there, Mamta.
I thought the whole interview is going to now go into in that direction.
No, I was like, that's really cool. But yeah, it was fascinating. I loved hearing about that. So thank you so much. And thank you to all our listeners. And thank you especially to Mamta.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Bye bye.